sorcery here. Wow. Yeah, I think we gotta mull this one. This hand's at least a little better, I suppose. Probably put back Murktide, I guess. Alright. Alright, yeah, that's certainly something I'm interested in drawing. Go ahead and upkeep this bad boy so we don't get got by a discard spell or something. Because who knows what our opponent's on. Looks like they're on, possibly on Yogg. Alright, so yeah, that one's going to the yard. So what are we missing? Creature and sorcery? Curious why they didn't leave on sure. And they're just attacking. Okay. Just leave Unholy Heat for something a little bit more worthy. So now one of the cards in their hands, a forest. Probably not going to give away we have white mana in this game. Not sure if there's anything specifically the Yogg deck can get out of this situation. All right. Opponent's got some endurances they're likely to be bringing in. Veil of Summers. The game's going to get a little bit more tricky. Doesn't have a ton of non-creature spells. They have Chord, Evolution, Grist. Although Grist is technically a creature on the stack, I do believe. Most of their stuff seems to be like anti-counter based, basically, stuff. Path to Exile probably might be the only card I'm interested in here. Blossoming Column's a little bit like corner case scenario could be okay. Teferi kind of feels pretty meh, especially against their board of dorks. And then could argue about Prismatic Ending possibly, but what would we cut? Maybe like one Ragavan on the draw. Kind of go like that. Go with the 61 card special. Yeah, it seems fine. Counterspell's not necessarily the best against their deck, but fine overall. Just because they bring in Veils of Summer, obviously. Yep. No answer to a 1-drop, but, you know, we can't really mulligan this hand, I don't think. Okay, well, I mean, that works. It's really nothing on 2 mana that I particularly care about out of their deck, so we're just going to bolt. Bolt the bird. Could, like, draw Wall of Omens or String Geist really in their only usually 2 mana plays. So they're not going to usually run out a Naked Blood Artist. They could have another Dork. Young Wolf, kind of irrelevant. They have another land? I was going to say, I figure you have another land, right? Sure, pass turn. Probably can just grab Basic Swamp, right? Nope. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and do the thing here. Yeah, I don't like taking the extra damage, but I think I have to just go ahead and counterspell this. Especially with an opponent so low on resources overall. Alright, I think this leaves us in a pretty reasonable position overall this turn. Sure. Mm-hmm. Land, please. Preferably not Spire Bluff Canal. Well, I mean, at least it's a threat that gets us on the board, right? Not the best of threats, but a threat nonetheless. Sure. It's actually very poor sequencing on my part. Still leaving that on top. Oh, it can't be countered. I'm a genius. Cool. Just wasted a perfectly good counterspell. Well played, genius. Well played. Guess we kind of have to risk it for the biscuit here. They have yield grist, they have yield grist. It's kind of whatever at this point. Sure. Yeah. Don't think we can afford to swing here. This is obviously a risk. If they have a Grist or another Yawgmoth, we're in some trouble, but it's kind of whatever. Or the Veil of Summer that we were, yeah, so thrilled about. Definitely a grindy, interesting matchup. Okay. Two, 4, 5. I mean, our only true option is attack, so it is what it is. Puts our opponent to 2. Opponent's gonna untap, have a billion cards, a billion mana. We got 1 counterspell. And alternatively, I guess we could try to Archmage's Charm for one of our 2 bolts in our deck. I mean, we're taking 5 here. That part's kind of guaranteed. So if we're going to counterspell something, we're going to have to use actual factual counterspell here. Because that gives us the out of... Problem is we have to counter what? Dural's Messengers. Yeah. Post-combat Strangleroot Geist. That one doesn't matter. Like, they can only whatchamacallit, once. And then they can, like, double... I mean, they can double proliferate, but they're still dead, right? Another Veil of Summer. Naturally. So they get to attack for lethal, right? Regardless of what I do. So if we would have gone for the Archmage's Charm as opposed to whatchamacallit, we would have gotten there. So 2 mistakes in that game just cost me a little bit. The Archmage's Charm, or the Counterspell on Toski mistake number 1, and then the line we took with Counterspell as opposed to Archmage's Charm. So should have played around the second Veil of Summer. Their deck packs a bunch of those, and it's quite annoying. We can bring a Ragavan back in on the play. Maybe get down to Prismatic Ending. Possible I should have Teferi in my deck. Maybe. That part I'm not sure of. Alright, this hand seems fine on the play. Certainly a brutal, brutal hand. Wow. Okay, sure. Yeah. Opponent might be slightly over-prepared for this matchup. That'd be a fantastic threat to be able to play, but I guess not. Like, here's Geisty Boy. Do they attack or do they block? Opponent is no attacks here. Oop, don't want that one in the graveyard. Okay. Anybody else feel there's a Veil of Summer in our future somewhere? Well, I mean, yeah, I'd love to play you, but can't really take down my counterspell wall here. Anybody else smelling a Endurance plus Veil back up here? Okay. This is very clearly Dryad Arbor. Protected by a veil, right? How about no? Please brick for a turn. And Wolf's not exactly a brick, but it could be a lot worse, I suppose. Alright, well, I mean, we're going to draw a card. That's a pretty good one. Well, so do we play around in endurance here? I don't think so. I don't think we're really beating anything anyway, so if they have endurance, they have endurance. It looks like it's a cord for one. Okay, well. Certainly could be worse, I guess. Alright, what you got this time? Presume you have another quarter and endurance, right? Does it like to draw like a god? So we have, what, 2 bolts in our deck that are lethal? Put the dorks on the board and pass. Okay. It's a reasonable one. We'll just go ahead and hold on to that one for now. Sure. Birds is kind of irrelevant here. I mean, other than that's a chump blocker. Get some scry action here. That is a card that I am somewhat interested in, honestly. Put it with one unknown in hand. Also is a card that I am particularly interested in. They've been holding on to another endurance. Good to them. Okay, put you to 1. Wow, that was an insane match, to put it nicely. Looks like the record thing is stuck. Good luck. They're a Luris deck. I don't have any early interaction. I guess this hand's fine. Let's see what happens. Could even be burn. That'd be ironic if our... Yep, it's definitely burn. Alright, that was among the better cards we could have seen there. Just kill it, don't ask questions. Sure, they could have Eidolon here. If they do, good on them, sure. I don't like main phasing this, especially since I'm basically taking 4 damage to try to find a kill spell. So I'd like to put that in my graveyard. Okay, well, he's in a lot of trouble this game. Maybe I wasn't just supposed to main phase bolt the Swift Spear. Hard to say. Opponent's got so many cards in hand, and they're not playing a land, so we're dead? Question mark. Oh man. Yep, feeling like we're dead. Feeling like we're dead. So, okay, we're definitely dead here because I don't have any basic islands left to go fetch. And, yeah. Alright, Blossoming Calm seems pretty reasonable against Burn, as does Flusterstorm. And possibly Dovin's Veto. Teferi could be okay in some spots, but it's also kind of whatever. Not a huge fan of any of this, honestly. This feels like one of our nightmare matchups, honestly. Like, I think I've heard some people in the Izzet Murktide community comment that this is a decent matchup for them. On both sides of it, I don't ever feel like I'm particularly favored. Burn feels like they're in a better position against this than the Murktide side. I mean, we have some sideboard cards, obviously, but they're not like... None of them are necessarily knockout. Like, Blossoming Calm is definitely very powerful, but it's like, you know, 3-color mana base, no basic red. Not saying that a basic mountain's great for the deck, but, you know, there are some cases where you don't want to take the damage. Sure. Just bolting the Darcy. Yeah. So I have to play a little bit of a longer game. Hopefully we don't have to fetch or shock or anything this turn. Goblin God. Go ahead and grab this. Sitter doesn't actually do anything. Nice. Thank you, my friend Goblin God. You kept a one-lander. Alright. Well, what we're going to do is deal with this Goblin Guide and hold up Counterspell / Blossoming Calm. Alright. Murktide. Now business is starting to pick up a little bit. End of turn. want to hit us with another spell, that's perfectly fine by me. This will be your turn to do it, friend. This feels like a Boris charm to me. Guess Helix would also work in this spot too. We would really like a 4th land here. No. Yeah, that's fine. Gain 2 of that life back. We gain Hexproof for the turn. Dovin's Vieto seems good here. Alright, so what we're going to do is 1, 2. Give ourselves a clock, as well as a counterspell / blossoming calm up. Okay. You really don't want to let me on top with all this mana. Okay, sure. That probably seals the game. Okay. Sure. This really feels like another whatchamacallit going on here. Another deep home. All right. Do we bring in Paz on the draw? Don't think so. So now we just kind of become this bad Murktide control deck. Yeah, I mean, I guess we have to keep this hand, right? Hopefully for once they don't have a 1-drop, but looks like they do. Counterspell. way too much damage from this Goblin Guide. Yeah. So we are going to very, very low. Basically, if another spell resolves, I'm dead. Okay, got it. Put it with one card in hand. Yep. Here we go. Got the spell, we're dead. Alright, well, close match. I think if we untap there, we're in decent shape, but we did. So, on to match number 5. Alright, back for match number 5 after being dispatched of by Burn. Sands, hopefully this hand's reasonable. No lands. Automatic mulligan. No red mana. Okay, looks like we're going to 5. Yeah, get rid of the 2 white spells. Hope it's good enough. Keep. Guess if there's a 5-card hand that has a chance, it might be this one. Elves, perhaps? Elves are all you need. Cavern of Souls. Elves, it does seem likely. Elvish Warmaster. Okay. Not a particularly good card for us. Okay, they have like triple elves here or something. Okay, with that on the stack, we're just gonna go ahead and kill Warmaster because Warmaster's a pain in the butt. Alright, what are we even looking for here? Is our opponent trade here? Feels like our opponent trades here. Yeah. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. Alright, Devoted Druid, sure. Okay, Murktide's not terrible, I suppose. Yeah. Turn clock. Wow. Against elves with Cavern of Souls. Yikes. I guess another prismatic ending, and do we want the Path Exiles maybe? Fairy feels a little clunky. Cut a Ragavan on the draw. Just cut 2 Ragavans on the draw. Probably has things like endurance and stuff in their board would be my guess. I don't even know what to think of this hand. I guess we keep it. It makes our counterspells kind of useless, which is annoying, but also kind of whatever. Of course. Endurance, yeah. I'm not surprised to see that one come in. It's kind of annoying, actually. Yeah, that one can go in the graveyard. It's a pretty good one for next turn. This hand was too risky. Probably should have mulliganed it, honestly. So now our opponent has an endurance in hand. It's about the only thing we do know for sure. Sure. Don't think I legitimately care about Vizier. Okay, opponent's drawing a forest, sure. Counterspell, kind of a useless card at the moment. I'm gonna say technically the correct play, I suppose, but what do you even do with it there? I think you just main phase and endurance here, don't you? Okay, so they're going to play Elvish Archdruid, sure. Okay, that's a rather nice one to have. Let's go ahead and bolt it. How much do I care about this endurance? What'd they pitch first off? Veil of Summer. Nah. We don't have a whatchamacallit right now anyway, so it's kind of whatever. Consider seems like a fine card. No Collected Company. I just path a stupid Vizier. Feels like I just path a stupid Vizier and buy myself some time. Okay, play a Darcy, that's not terrible. Currently missing, what, sorcery and... Wow, looks like our opponent's being a little bit unfortunate, but, you know. Actually, let's just resolve consider here. Yeah, it's a card I'm probably interested in drawing. Nope. It's clearly not the best, but it's also clearly not the worst. The only things our opponents can have here are not uncounterable. Okay, pass to our opponent. See what they've got here. Still nothing. Wow, that's loud. Okay, once again, just think we draw some cards here. Yeah, splits the shields down, but I think they would have gone for whatchamacallit by now. Why would you lead on one that I can counterspell? Sure. You have a Coco in hand you're trying to resolve? Oh, Grist. Without a card too? Sure. Make our Murktide bigger. And get the 4-1. Nice. Alright, back for a wrap up with that league. This deck plays a lot of very close games. You have a lot of games where you just kind of barely pull it out. You kind of need all parts of the buffalo, so to speak. You know, this deck obviously thrives on efficiency and power. Not unlike Delver and Legacy, although obviously their tools may be a little bit better. As far as this deck, what it's trying to do, where its place in the metagame is, you know, a lot of things out there are difficult to deal with. Endurance is a pain in the butt. Solitude can be a pain. Burn in general just seems like a rough matchup, even with the Blossoming Calms. I mean, it's certainly a winnable matchup, but it certainly is a struggle. I know historically I've played a lot of blue-red decks over the years, whether it be blue-red Key after the Twin ban, whether it be blue-red Through the Breach, blue-red Delver-ish strategies previously. The burn decks always feel a little bit awkward. And especially as you go to a third color and your mana base does you a little bit more damage, those matchups where your opponent presents not only creatures but burn spells often can be very difficult. This deck, we pretty much took apart the elf deck, for lack of a better term. I suspect humans is probably a very similar matchup, though they have a little bit more disruptive elements than we do, or than elves does. Merfolk's probably a bit of a tricky matchup as well. A lot of decks, a lot of tribal decks, which obviously don't see much play in Modern currently because there's just way too much efficient removal. But, a lot of those decks, this deck feels like it can line up against with bolts and unholy heats and prismatic endings and, stealing their guys and Murktide region outsizing most of what they do, etc. The thing about Burn is Burn has that extra access. Not only do you have to worry about the creatures, but you also have to worry about the spells. And that's one of the things I think people kind of underestimate about Burn a little bit, is the fact that it is, a two-pronged attack. It's much like, those matchups where, again, a mid-range deck playing against a control deck where they have like a pile of creatures, the control deck taps, verdicts or whatever, and then the mid-range deck, plays a planeswalker that they can't deal with. It's much kind of the same thing. You have to, and where the matchup gets tricky for decks like this, or other, even control decks, is you have to answer their creatures, and then while you're answering their creatures, or you're tapping low to deal with that, then you're getting pounded by their burn spells, and then they just find one more opening and you're dead. At least that's how the ideal burn playing game goes. This deck, presents a little bit of a different angle. We play creatures, then we try to disrupt them enough with, clearing the way from their creatures or counterspelling their key spells, etc. You kind of have to be able to evaluate what cards matter, what cards don't matter. Mana efficiency, should I cast my Archmage's Charm when I only have 3 mana, hoping that I can draw a 4th land to have Counterspell plus Murktide, or, just different little things like that take some getting used to with a deck like this if you're not familiar with it. So, deck is very important about sequencing, mana, etc., especially since we've added a third color. We've had some awkward hands where we've had all white spells and no white mana, or we've had all white sources and all red spells, just goofy stuff like that. So, anywho, this league was a hoot, 4-1 with a lot of close games. Might have been able to beat Burn if we'd had a little bit more functional hand. Maybe we're supposed to mulligan a bit more aggressively. That's something I'll have to work on with this deck. But as always, this has been John for MTG Nexus. See you in the next video.